Goals have nothing actually to do with future self. The only thing future self cares about is like posture and energy. She feels wise. Get really clear on her posture more than anything. And then you can connect with that and like, will this steal her posture or will this give her posture? I simply just ask this question is like, is this going to make me feel more alive or less alive next week? More alive or less alive 6 months from now?
The world has taught us some of the most fundamentally useless ways of thinking about success that actually go against our biology when it comes to achievement and happiness, success and peace. We are taught to push through pain at any cost, to use pressure to persist, focus on the goal, and do whatever it takes to get there. This is useful if the goal is to not starve to death. But success by any means necessary comes at a remarkable cost to our future self. Our mantra around here is not a penny from pressure, only pleasure. The More Alive podcast exists to lead us into a new way of achieving and replace outdated advice that threaten the dream life that actually makes us feel more alive. I'm your host, Andrea Crowder, mom, truth teller, and lover of daydreaming, here to help create a world where we all feel more alive. Welcome to the show.
Okay, so my question is like around, is there an energetic block in me or am I using legend? Like, am I not using legend the way that I could? So I feel like I keep bringing the same issues to legend and like I maybe have one or two different threads because one of it is like, hey, I'm doing the thing. And it's like, yes, let's do it. And here's how, it's more strategy and helping me kind of design it and helping with copy. And it's all like green lights, right? And then I have another thread, and maybe this is the problem, where I'm like, I have doubt, right? Is this the thing that I should be doing? Should I be working on it now? I have a lot going on in my personal life that is preventing me from like working on this business idea. And it's giving me like pause around maybe the universe is telling me now's not the time, right? When you were talking about maybe you're trying to harvest when you should be planting seeds. In my case, like I have a lot of healing to do. I just found out like I have mold toxicity and like I heard Carrie talking about that on the last call, candida, all sorts of problems. Like we're buying a new house, we're spending the summer in our new summer house that my husband decided was a good idea to buy. Then I'm just like, okay, I guess we're doing this. It's just a lot, right? And work is crazy. And I'm like, is this, maybe I shouldn't be working on. And so I keep going to legend and I'm like, is this the thing? Is this not the thing? And everything that she says like makes sense and it lands in the moment. And then I flip flop. So I either went from like, had a lot of doubt and she's like, well, here's how you could think about it. I'm like, yep, I would do it anyway, even if all these other things were true. And then I go back to the other thread and I'm like, let's do it. And then I have the doubt and I jump back to these two different threads. And I'm like, I either need to bring these threads together and have the doubt and the gung-ho like energy in the same so she can see me waffling, or there's a prompt that I'm missing, like that I need her to call me out on something or clear some block that I can't see. And I don't know how to prompt her in that way. So like I'm hoping you can like either help me figure out what I'm doing or tell me how to use legend like to get there.
Prompt your future self first
And
because you're
I have a hard time connecting with my future self. I think I am very much like when I was younger in my 20s, I used to have like this vision of what 5, 10 years out would look like. As I was in my 30s, like it was no longer supportive for me. Like I always just focused on the next 6 months to a year. And it was amazing because I had all these new opportunities come my way that I wouldn't have thought of it, if I would to forecast what my future self was doing. And so I learned like, okay, well, I need to have a shorter kind of time frame and just let myself be surprised, right? And so when I try to think of future self, like I can see way out, like when my kids have their kids, but I can't see that in between. And when I think about the next 6 months or even, the summer, like I'm going to be busy, I'm going to be gone, I'm not going to have time, like, and I can't see beyond that because if I could see beyond that, I could accept that this was a period of rest, but that beyond just feels so unclear or murky and like a little scary that I'm just like, I got to do something now, right? And
I got you. So you don't need to be able to see where she is or what she's done if you know how she feels. And you're like, okay, my future self, if you were to build out the emotional wherewithal and the posture, let me just even leave it with posture. If all you knew about your future self was her posture, let's say we decided, for me, my future self, her posture is that she trusts herself. Her posture is that she feels connected. She feels connected to her vitality. She feels connected to her intuition, to her wisdom, to her soul, her source. So if all I knew about her was that her posture felt connected, that's it. And then I was trying to make decisions about today. What I would do is I could imagine myself 6 months from now feeling that posture of connection. I would tap into her. And this is the fun part about future self is like sometimes it's like my 80-year-old self that helps me make my decisions for today. Cause she's just like most of the time I'll use 80-year-old self when it has to do with like, oh, I'm afraid I'll fail. 80-year-old self is like, we didn't give a fuck. We had a great ride, right? Like she doesn't care. Or I'm afraid of judgment. 80-year-old self is like, we all have wrinkly vaginas and balls now. So like just none of us care. We might have cared then. It was silly for all of us. All of the people who thought any of that stuff was significant, none of us care anymore. We're all wrinkly everywhere. And so those are the kinds of things that I might like bounce off 80-year-old self, but she still has the same posture. She cares much less about things that are insignificant to her then. So I might use her then for stuff like that. For stuff like, okay, I'm making decisions about what I want to create and how that's going to impact me in like the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. I don't have to know all of those details. I just have to know how she feels. And so I'm going to connect with like, okay, she feels connected. She feels her vitality. And so if I'm like, okay, I'm working on this one project, like, do I want to start this phase of this project? I might check in with myself tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months, 5, 4, or 5, 6, 9, whatever, kind of flow through different like phases of your future self. For tomorrow self, I'm thinking more about like immediate impact. I often ask questions like, do I really want to eat this? Because that will impact tomorrow self quite a bit, right? Like I'm going to feel low on energy. But if I'm like, okay, I'm clear on the projects that I want, but what do I want to work on for those projects? I'm going to check in with myself like next week. Am I going to shoot myself in the foot if I leave this for future self next week, whose posture I desire to feel full of like vitality and connection? Will I steal any of her vitality and connection if I say yes or no to this? So you can take all of those goals. Goals have nothing actually to do with future self. The only thing future self cares about is like posture and energy. She feels wise. She feels this. She feels like you like just get really clear on her posture more than anything. And then you can connect with that and like, will this steal her posture or will this give her posture? I simply just ask this question is like, is this going to make me feel more alive or less alive next week? More alive or less alive 6 months from now? I would say like Kristen would use like the question, like, will this make me feel more alive or less alive in 6 months if I say yes to this client today? That would be like a way that I would like translate that to someone who's making decisions like Kristen is right now.
So you guys want a sneak peek of me rewiring my monkey mind to get back into greatest potential, remembering who the fuck I am? So something happened today. I felt myself resisting ease. Sales are flowing, our launch is moving effortlessly, like easier than ever. And I caught this little whisper of doubt, like, wait, is this too easy? Should I be doing more? Should I force some momentum just to prove that I'm supporting the launch? Enter Legend AI, who promptly called me out in the most delicious way. So instead of letting me spiral, derail the launch, delay certain things getting done, Legend reminded me sales aren't magic, they are momentum. The energy is already working, and my job isn't to force it, it is to hold the standard and let it expand. Ease isn't passive, it's power. Supporting the launch doesn't mean doing more, it means amplifying what's already flowing. So a river doesn't force itself forward, it moves with momentum, it carves canyons, shapes landscapes, and flows with unstoppable force. A pleasure-led business is a muscle. So this wasn't a problem. It was just proof that I'm stepping into a new level of trust, a new level of ease, a new level of expansion. Achievement without aliveness is just a form of survival. So the pleasure model and Legend AI rewire you directly for true success that makes you feel more alive. And just like that, the resistance melted. The launch is continuing, and now I'm feeling supported. And also, I wanted to remind you, Legend AI is fully trained in the pleasure model in all of my modalities. Legend AI is like a me for me, designed to help you integrate a pleasure-led business faster than you have ever dreamed of. Something like that could have derailed me. It could have put me back an entire day, and it derailed me for minutes. It's like having an on-demand coach, me, who speaks your language, who can shift you instantly when resistance creeps in. It can help you refine your messaging, calibrate your pricing, and sell in a way that feels like pleasure, not pressure. You can literally ask, like, make my offer more magnetic, write a sales email that feels like ease, help me price this in a way that turns me on. Or like today, say, help me figure out where the resistance is. Melt this shit for me. If you want to experience that magic in action, I recorded an audio that explains exactly what Legend AI is, how people are using it, and what it's capable of with real testimonials. You'll just be nodding along, listening while you're on the go. You'll walk away with immediate understanding of how to integrate ease, momentum, and pleasure deeper into your business. So check the show notes. You'll be able to click and get that little sneak peek into what Legend AI is, create deeper understanding. This, you guys, this is the future. This is what the pleasure model is all about, letting success be easier than it has ever been before, to trust the ease, to let sales flow, and to let Legend show you how.
Does that land a little bit better with you?
Yeah, so much. I think that I was not seeing future self like on this sliding timeline. I was just like, there's this one future self that I'm connecting with, and then maybe one like way far out in the future, and like checking in at different points in the timeline. And what you said about like how does she feel? It is not about what is she doing or what has she done. It's how does she feel. That landed because like I feel like that seems easy for me to connect with her on like the feeling that she has. I think I get tripped up when I'm like, yeah, but how? How do I get to that feeling? And I know that's not my job, right? Like if I can connect with the feeling and then tap into like, okay, what do I do today that would either, move her closer to that or away from that feeling? That's super helpful because, I was my whole life is how, my job is how, like everything that I do is just so ingrained and conditioned into me to focus on like I'm the one who comes up with the how. So it's really hard to let go of that. But it feels like that's my lesson right now, is to learn to let go of trying to figure that out.
You're not letting go of it, actually. That is the tangible strategy. It's just now we weigh everything against that feeling. And if it's a feeling match, it's a frequency match. And so like it is a very precise strategy, because if we keep saying yes to things that would pull away from that feeling of like vitality, connection, spaciousness, clarity, whatever, like it's an immediate no for me. I don't need to know why. I already know why. It's a frequency mismatch.
That makes so much sense. I think because when I was thinking about the how, it was like the logical how. It's the left brain how, not the feeling how, not the feminine how, right? Because like when I think about would I do something that would lead to that feeling? It may not make logical sense. And I think I was always coming at it from like what's the logical path to that thing versus would this move me in the direction of that posture or that feeling? Okay. Yeah.
And oftentimes think about like masculine and feminine energy, there's this like big long debate, like who really leads. And I do believe that the masculine leads, but I do also believe that the feminine provokes it.
It's funny that you say that because like my husband and I have been having this conversation where I've gotten really frustrated because I feel like he expects me to lead. The way that we met was like, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago. I was the project manager. He was on the team as a software engineer. And like he saw me as this strong leader, right? And so that's part of why he fell in love with me. But now I'm like, I don't want to be that anymore. And he's like, well, no, you tell me what you want to get done and I'll go and do it for you, right? And then I thought about it, like he was using this terrible analogy. I won't even like he was just like, just point and grunt. And I'm like, that's not that's he's like, you point and grunt and I'll go do it. I'm like, that sounds awful. And then the analogy that popped into my mind was like Cleopatra, right? She's like running the show. She has this like queen energy and she's just like, I would like this done. And then her, handsome generals just go and do it. And I told him that. And I'm like, if you can refer to it as Cleopatra instead of pointing and grunting, like then it makes it feel like, okay, I can make decisions and say, I'd like this and I'd like that. And I was listening to the Empowered Wife, right? And I haven't read the Surrendered Wife yet, but Empowered Wife. And she's kind of saying the same thing where it's not leadership in the masculine sense, but it's like we're the navigator, like pointing in the right direction and like navigating or showing where we should be going. And then the men are like, okay, got it. And then they can like, design the plan and go execute on the plan. And so maybe that's what I've been missing too, is that the feeling is the where I want to go. And then the masculine is like the logical how. Did I get that right?
Such a beautiful nuance because the feminine can cast the vision, and we can cast vision simply by saying, I want to feel romanced and fed. And, Keith would be like, okay, let me build a plan on helping my woman feel romanced and fed. I don't need to say, like, I want like steak and potatoes, because the masculine, I use the word provoked really intentionally, because if you're reading The Empowered Wife, like your job as the feminine is to make yourself happy, because when you're happy, the masculine wants to make you happier. It is automatic. And I've seen, like, Keith and I have been together long enough now to like see seasons where he's been in like devotion energy like I've never witnessed before, almost like to the point where I'm like, this man just literally built a fucking castle for me in a day. And there's days where like sometimes he'll give me a sip of his water. like where he's just like, oh, did you need something? It's just like an afterthought for him. And every time I can pinpoint the fact that like I didn't provoke the energy from him, not because he was busy with other things. There's been plenty of times where like he's working a full-time job and building a franchise at the same time. He is a busy bee. He just exists that way. But even within that, there would be times where he'd be like, do you need me to carry you to bed? Like that difference of like, no, he wouldn't even ask. In fact, that's like such a fucking lie. There's seasons in our relationship where I'm not allowed to stand up for myself. He will come over and he will like grab my feet and like pull me out of bed and like lift me onto the floor. And like, I don't have to fucking stand for myself. And then there's seasons where I'm just like, hi, I'm still in bed. You forgetting about me? And it's always when I'm like forgetting to make myself happy. So the difference would be is like, he wouldn't ask me if I like need to be carried somewhere, if I'm taking care of myself, if I'm making myself happy, if I'm like truly fulfilling my own desires. He's already picked me up and carried me there. Like his masculine will just know. And he pays such close attention to the details of like, oh, she's on day one of her period, steak, right? Like I don't have to tell him what I want Like he has like slowly started to learn my cycle. I've never had a man who's like given a fuck about my cycle. It's been a big fat inconvenience to him. And like depending on like when he can or cannot get laid, right? Like based off of preferences, I suppose. But if I'm doing the one thing that's my job, it's my job to make myself happy. And when I'm doing that the best, it provokes divine devotion in ways that are not even earthly. It's wild. But it's like when I'm coming from a place of like, I really need you to hold me right now. It's like neediness energy. Like nobody wants to fulfill that. When he's needy, I'm like, oh, I'll do that for you because I love you. And my future self tomorrow would be like, okay, that's a yes for us. But not because that feels really alive in my body right now. Like if he's really needy, my ex I could always tell when he was really sick because energetically I would feel his neediness when he was faking it. And I just like called that motherfucker out. He's like, I'm hungry. Can you make me some chicken soup and mushy crackers? He would say it like a 5-year-old. And I'm like, I've got to go to the store. I can't help you. I literally could not do a thing for that man because it repels us on an energetic perspective. That sensation of like wanting, like having big energy to get something done for someone is just deflated when it's coming from like a place of lack. And the universe shows up for us the same exact way. Your only job in this whole world, every single fucking day, you guys, is to make yourself the happiest human that you have ever been in your entire life. Fulfill your greatest, most delicious needs as a woman, the whole world will start to spin around us. Like it sucks. We have to go through periods sometimes. And like we do have a little bit of a hard time in some ways. We have to like giving birth isn't particularly lovely for most people. I never got to figure that one out. I wasn't conscious enough to try to have an orgasmic birth way back then when I was 19. But like I know now that if I do everything possible to take care of myself, to make myself the happiest that I've ever been, people will match the frequency in ways that are other fucking worldly, in ways that feel almost impossible. Like the times where I've like really felt true divine masculine devotion, I'm like, you guys, I've done a lot of drugs in this world, like real drugs, cocaine and all the things. And I'm like, there's nothing like it. There's no drug greater than the masculine devotion. And you guys can sip on that shit every fucking day in some capacity, meaning like Sky Daddy's gonna fucking meet your needs, gonna make you moan. Like your man will meet your needs and make you moan. Like, and this, you guys think this has to take a long time. Like, I know some of you guys have been through some shit with your person, but I bet you can pinpoint back to like in the beginning of the relationship when he could do no wrong and you just loved everything about him. Didn't he want to make you love him more? He just did everything to make you love him more. And now all of a sudden you're like annoyed with his faults. And he's just like, well, that's a battle I can't win, and just stops trying. Right. But if you're just like happier than you could have ever been, you see him differently. Remember, we see the world through our eyes, not with our eyes, but with our nervous system. So if our nervous system is like chill as fuck, melty, yummy, delicious, to the capacity that you have, depending on like where you are in your cycle, some days it's like right now, I'm not gonna like go throw on a fucking Barbie dress and like go like, you know, walk down walk down the city and be like, I'm amazing. Everyone look at me, right? Like that's for ovulation phase. But right now, I can, even in my stillness, even in my winter, I am so magnetic. You have magnetism in every season. It just feels differently. How you present it feels differently. But like, even still, like I have to meet my own needs when I'm like on my period. And like, when I do that, when I give myself permission to rest, when I give myself permission to do the things that are correct for that season, instead of forcing and proving, then the universe shows up. Yesterday, I was like trying to force, I felt it. And I'm like, let's just see if I could squeeze out one more thing with Legend. She created some shit. I was like, that is the worst I've ever seen you perform. And then I messaged my team and I was like, LOL, I'm trying to write an email on overflow from a place where I feel no overflow whatsoever. I'm so fucking tired. And I was like, I'm gonna write this shit tomorrow. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna binge watch TV. I'm gonna sleep really well. I'm gonna wake up. And now I have like everything she's performing for me today. I'm like, zero edits, flawless. Like even Legend wants to make us happier when we make ourselves happier. I'm sure you guys have seen that where you're just like you're not in the energy and Legend is just like it's like she is flat fucking soda. Cause everything out here is just trying to reflect to you what's happening in here. Every person, every tool, every stoplight, everything is literally a reflection of what's going on in here first.
I don't know why that feels like so revolutionary to me because I feel like I've heard some version of this in so many other ways, like manifestation, like you raise your frequency and then the frequency, you'll attract what wherever frequency you're at, and like the whole pleasure over pressure, like but the way that you're explaining it, where it's like, no, if I take care of myself first, if I put my pleasures and desires and how I want to feel first, for whatever reason, it sounds different than like raise your frequency, because it's something that's like, well, I want to give to me first, and then the whole world like responds and reflects that. It feels revolutionary for so many reasons. One of which being like women, we're not taught that, especially from my culture, right? Like that's not what you do. And so I feel like I'm going to re-listen to this like 10 times. So thank you.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of More Live. But you already know the conversation doesn't end here. In fact, if you check the show notes, you will see that there's a link where you can essentially like leave us a voicemail. You can comment on today's episode, tell us what was your mic drop moment, and you can also ask questions. Your audio might be featured on a future More Live episode. So also, if something in today's episode really hit home with you, share it. Think about somebody who might need to hear that. And you guys already know, I love chatting with you guys in the DMs. So come over to Instagram, slide into my DMs, and tell me what hit hardest today. I want to hear from you. And if you want to keep this energy going, you already know, let's make this official. Subscribe, leave a review, and let's turn this shit into a movement, because the more live you feel, the more live the world becomes.